Hi there, I'm Dr. Sujay, and welcome to Hope, my new show. Headliners are people of the East End, and we hope that you stay with us during this time. My special guest today, I'm ignited, excited, and delighted to welcome Cristina Cuomo. Thank you for coming.
Dr. Sujay, thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I have been watching Purist Magazine. I scooped them up on Main Street in Sag Harbor. Tell us your relationship to Purist.
Oh my goodness, purist. Well, you're a purist, I'm a purist. Purist is for people who are looking for wellness and good health in their lives. It's a toolbook, it's a guide to give you direction and inflection and reflection on how to be your best self.
I love it.
And you talk about hope. Well, hope is a big pillar of wellness. It's probably the primary pillar of wellness.
Yes.
And without it, none of the others can survive. So we talk about everything from nutrition to mindfulness to a good night's sleep and
Yes.
how important that is, and things that are so simple and driven and born out of nature that we just forget. We're so far removed
Yes.
from a lot of the essences that we
Exactly.
were brought into this life with, that we try to remind you of those things. Breathe.
Breathe. Stop.
Breathing is a healing modality.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of years ago, the ancients practiced breath work.
Yes.
And just the art of learning how to inhale and exhale properly can actually heal certain illnesses, modern illnesses, and it's a fascinating phenomenon. So we talk about all those things.
Yeah.
We bring in the experts, the doctors,
Yes.
the authors, the journalists, the people who take a deep dive on these subjects,
Yeah.
and we created a platform for them.
Well, it's a great platform. So let's
you.
just go back to breath, because even when we're having children, childbirth is Lamaze classes
Yeah.
so that you don't freak out when the pain comes. But there's a breathing technique that can help you with ease get through it. And so everything you cover from skincare also, and you covered my article in your book, Selah by the Sea, is a retreat that I'm getting ready to do where we call pause. It just says to stop, which is a biblical word, Selah, S-E-L-A-H.
Beautiful.
Just means pause. And so one of the articles, you have many covers in your book. We've had everyone from Oprah Winfrey to Tracy Ellen Ross and Christy Brinkley, and who are some of the others? Hold up some of the covers you have.
So Jennifer Aniston, this is one of my favorites. She's a true wellness practitioner. She has been biohacking since the beginning of her career,
Yes.
trying to maintain longevity.
Yes.
And living your best life, as I mentioned. It's not just about looking younger. Of course, there's a bonus to that, but what a lot of these celebrities are realizing is that it all begins within.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when you can create the light and the glow from within,
Right.
it emanates without.
Yes.
Right? So how do you find your way back to yourself, back to your spirit? How do you nourish your soul, right?
Exactly.
That's what we try to help people realize.
So many people think about the lights, camera, action outside, but it only can take a picture of the beauty that's coming from within you, and then it can capture that. So lights, camera, action, but from within to nourish your soul. And nourish is an important word. We just had someone on the show who has a vitamin enhanced water that has nutrients to also nourish you, so that we're not just drinking these sugary drinks, but that we're drinking things on purpose, with purpose. So tell me some of the things you do for your soul and for your health.
So I like to keep it simple. Water is a great place to start, right? It was a gift to us.
Yes.
And we have somehow made it toxic, and we've kind of deadened the water, right? So that's why all of these brands are trying to ignite the nutritive qualities of water.
Yes.
Stimulate the molecular hydrogen that is in water, right? H2O.
Yes.
So we talk a lot about water. What are the best sources of water? What are the best brands that are bottling water? And yes, we have to pay for water now, which is somewhat ironic.
It is.
Where
3/4 of the earth is water, but we have to pay for it because we polluted so much of it.
And remember, we're made of water too.
Yes.
Okay, we're made of 80% of this corporeal being is water. So water is healing.
Yes.
So it's really important to find balanced water, balance within, balance without. So breath work.
Yes.
Again, it's balance. Create a dynamic practice. Be thoughtful and mindful. I always tell people, if you can't sit still and meditate for 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day, go for a walk.
Exactly.
But there's so many ways to find quiet moments. in doing the dishes, making the bed,
Yes.
washing your hair, washing your daughter's hair. Like there's beautiful moments
Exactly.
throughout the day. And again, it's about being present.
Being fully present is what I
Yes.
say. Since I moved out to the East End, I make sure that the birds are my alarm clock, so that I listen to nature and I take that walk. And there's so many beaches and so many bodies of water that I go usually by Havens Beach. Early in the morning, there's a favorite tree, but I look just out on the water. I don't need anything else. That starts my day. That jump starts me.
Yeah.
So you've raised a family, you've had marriage.
Yeah.
So you have to find time,
Yes.
and you're publishing a magazine. So can we show a few of the covers of the wonderful people she's had on the covers of Purist that you have there, Zach? Oprah Winfrey, what's her wellness regime?
So Oprah has been on a path to health and wellness for a very long time, and it's not about weight management. It's about, like I said, finding that peace within.
Yes.
And she has tried and been this sort of beacon of light for so many, because she, before COVID, she went on a tour, and it was the 2020 Wellness Tour, where she went to stadiums all over the country, 20,000 seater stadiums, filled them with people who don't know anything about nutrition and mindfulness and meditation.
Yes.
And she brought in some of the best in all those categories. And everyone was moving. There was movement. There was thoughtful, like prayer meditation moments. Then she had a special lunch box on everybody's seat. So she was really, really teaching and guiding people to think outside of the box. We don't learn about nutrition in school. We don't learn about our health. We learn about our bodies, but we don't learn about what we should be doing with them.
Right,
what
and
we should be
putting
putting
into
in them and on them.
Exactly.
And once I figured that out, once I became a mother, I said, oh my God, I have to share everything I'm learning with everyone.
Exactly.
It's not, it wouldn't be right if I just kept all this good information to myself. And science is ever evolving, and people need to hear from science to believe. Okay, so I always want to bring in doctors, and I want to bring in the science and the clinical trials and show, but everything now can be proven in the natural sense of things.
Very much so.
Just walking on the beach, because what you're doing is first of all, you're bringing in that natural light.
Yes.
You're setting your circadian rhythm in action. You're waking your brain up.
Yes.
Okay, with the sunlight. You're also walking by the sea. So the salt air, the fresh salt water is literally creating an antimicrobial, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory experience in your body.
Yes.
So you feel great.
You really do.
And
exhilarated.
Yes.
To start my day. You wrote an article. If we could show that the PDF, but it's in the Purist Magazine with Tracy Anderson on the cover. But it was about Selah by the Sea, which is for people to be by the sea, by the water. Many inner city business women don't have the water, and so they don't stop.
They don't have nature.
They don't have nature, so we take them away. Some seaside to say stop for all of the things you talked about to happen for them, and you can see the joy return to them by the fourth day as they're leaving.
That is a beautiful experience that you're creating for people.
Yeah.
Because only in retreat can we reflect.
Right.
And when we pause, suddenly our creative, intuitive nature comes forward.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The most creative, inspirational moments happen in quietude.
And quietude. So it's retreat, and so we start with the R word. We say, everybody bring the R word that you need during this retreat, and we have restoration, rest. I mean, all of the things, and it's like we couldn't stop long enough to do it on our own, but we can now stop long enough to say this is what we need to do for the rest of our life. So all of the things you talked about, we need to retreat to restore and be re-energized and enhanced.
Yeah, and it's about sort of this notion of rejuvenation.
Yes.
The only inevitability in life is that, it will end.
It will end, yes.
So how do we do it in the most graceful possible way where we feel our best and we get to enjoy it? Right?
So there's an environmental crisis in our country, really in the world. How do you help people live well in the midst of environmental racism, environmental injustice? How do they find, when they're food deserts and there are things that happen, how do they find their wellness in the midst of all this?
Education, awareness is key. We were brought into this world to be stewards of this world.
Yes, very much.
We have lost our way. And it's very important to connect with nature and help people connect with nature. So what you're doing is really special. And the reason we need to do that is to give back to what nourishes us.
Exactly.
Like I said, water is what heals us,
Yes.
and literally is what we're made of. It fuels us. How could we not show our gratitude and humility by appreciating, right?
But
and
we've been given.
respecting, exactly, and we don't.
Exactly.
So when I think we can pivot towards that direction and help people do that by literally guiding them to the beach, guiding them to the shore,
Exactly.
to the earth, to the greenery that is the beauty that was created for us.
So how do you find the celebrities and those who write articles? Have you been watching and seeing what they're doing with their own lives?
So someone like Robert Downey Jr., who I think is a phenomenal example of a human being.
Yes, I do too.
He rose up in the face of adversity. He healed himself. He found love and inspiration, and now he is a steward of the planet. One of his main objectives is conservation of land and animals and people. You know, he's a wonderful person. So I think that celebrities who lead by celebrities have an obligation.
Yes.
They've been given a gift to showcase something important now. Okay, here I can do this beautiful craft, great. I entertained you. But now let's talk about what's really important. And Robert's doing that with all of his.
Yeah, and they have the platform to do it. So I was working with the Clinton administration when Al Gore started talking about climate change and what we were doing to our planet, and people laughed. They really ignored him. And now people are like, we're in a crisis. So what do we do to reverse it? So what are some suggestions you say for the everyday person, bottled water versus boxed water? What are some things we can do on a daily basis?
Well, I was reading Venus Williams' new book, Strive.
Yes.
Which she's on the cover of my July issue.
Okay.
And it's a great self-help book because she has a lot of these life hacks, and they're just tools that she uses. And from the moment she wakes up, she's thinking, what can I do in honor of myself today?
I love it.
How can I serve myself so that I can serve others and be a support system for others, be a good guide, right?
Yes.
And share the lessons I've learned. So it's really about psychology and your mentality, right?
Talk to yourself.
Wake up and say, how can I get close to nature today? I'm going to take my shoes off and I'm going to go for a walk in Central Park. 10-minute break. Okay?
Stop.
So we are physically built to take breaks.
Yes.
We you know, the circadian
rhythm. You'll break down.
The circadian rhythm is your morning and evening cycle of waking and sleeping. And then you have something called herbs, which are your ultradian rhythm breaks that you need to take throughout the day. So literally we have not set ourselves up to create breaks.
Right.
We cycle up for 45 minutes and then we're supposed to be taking a 20-minute break so that we can energize to cycle up again. But what happens is we're trying to stay up here all day long and then we crash around 4 o'clock.
Exactly.
So it's really important to think out of the box of what society's created and what's good for you. Think about what's good for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a workout in the morning and then I'm going to take a 20-minute break. Then I'm going to get on the phone and do some work for 45 minutes. Then I'm going to take a break.
Exactly.
So you really have to think that your body is this beautiful machine.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you feeding it? You know, what
and
kind
how
of
are you
oil
respecting
it?
it? Exactly.
Yes, and how are you honoring yourself?
So I work with a lot of business women. So I say we try to take the busy out of business, you know, because you need to take a break. So many have burnt out literally that they don't want to work anymore. And the field of ministry, we call it compassion fatigue. You've given so much, but when did you stop to give to yourself or to take time for yourself? So it is a reprogramming, a rethinking that I'm important. And what I started doing was just making office hours. You cannot reach me other than Tuesday and Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And people want to force you against your own boundaries.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's why they have call waiting or call ID. I'm not picking up.
Well, you hit on a really important nerve. Creating boundaries is everything. And we're mothers.
Yes.
We're nurturers. We're givers,
Yes.
right? So when in the workplace, we're trying to advance ourselves. We're trying to become equals.
Yes.
But for crying out loud, why aren't we equals already?
Right, exactly.
You know, we don't want to be superior. We just want to be on the same plane.
Exactly.
So creating boundaries is really important. And once you set those boundaries, stick with those boundaries.
Exactly.
And then you can create good habits because you have made space for yourself.
Exactly.
Now, for women, I always say it's really important to expand, keep expanding.
Yes.
Don't let things get you down,
Right,
right? We're
right.
all on this jagged path.
Right.
So there are going to be obstacles, there are going to be
Challenges and-
construction zones and challenges.
Exactly.
But how do you keep expanding?
Right,
You know?
right.
So what does that mean? That means, what do I need?
Right.
What does my soul need?
Right, exactly.
You know,
Have you ever asked yourself, what
Yes.
do I need?
Yeah.
Exactly. So when a building has a storm or a crash, they retrofit it the next time around. So to make sure that you're standing. So what does a woman need to do to retrofit to make sure she stands?
Stand her ground, right?
I love it.
The roots are down,
Mhm.
right? We're all connected to the earth.
Yes.
And we're all connected to each other.
Yes.
So once we are aware of that, you're no different than me and I'm no different than you.
Exactly.
We're the same.
Mhm.
So how do we help each other?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a beautiful thing. Once you realize we're all here, as Ram Dass says, we're all here to walk each other down the path together.
Oh, I love
It's such
that.
a beautiful thing.
It really is. It really is.
So I feel like with Purist,
Yes.
I'm
Look,
trying to
hold
help.
that cover up. I want to see that one again
This
too.
is so pretty.
Oh, that is so
She
beautiful.
launched a hair care line, so it's a lot about her hair, which is a
Okay.
non-toxic hair care line, which is really a good one called Lolavi. So, we're here to support each other. I try to support all the people who are doing really spectacular things like
Yes.
yourself.
Well, thank you so
Oh
much.
my goodness. Yes, you need to be celebrated.
Because it's like, what good is it if nobody knows what you're doing? We really want people to know, to really for their own lives. It's not for our egos. It's so your life can be well. That's what wellness means. So your life can be well.
It's nice to be acknowledged for your hard work.
It
right?
really is.
It's not good to care what other people think. There's a difference, though.
Yes.
You're doing great work. Keep it up.
Mhm.
Like that's what you want to hear.
Sure.
I'm on the path, and
Yes.
stay on that path. And people will come into your path. And it's the other thing I like to tell people is that it's really important to protect your zone. Okay?
Yes.
My kids always say, "Oh, I don't want to hear about energy again." I come up to them and I'm like, "Your energy field is off today. Like, who came into that space
Exactly.
and wreaked havoc in your space?" So it's really important to stay in your zone and protect it.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's talk a little more about that. When you say stay in your zone, what do you mean?
So I work with a lot of energy healers. They
Mhm.
write for me.
Yes.
I want to learn about this other element to us. We're made of energy, right? We're made
Yes.
of light, sound, and energy.
Mhm.
Okay, so how does energy flow through our bodies? You've heard of chakras.
Of
We have
course.
7 chakras
Yes.
from here to here,
Mhm.
and they get disrupted throughout the day.
They do.
A lot of women have trouble with their throat chakra because they can't find their voice. They're afraid to make a statement. They don't want to be too vocal. They don't want to be heard,
Yes.
but they want to be heard. So I always say, practice using your voice.
I love it.
Breath work is a great way to
Mhm.
do that.
Yes.
Scream a little. Go into your backyard and holler.
Yes.
Sing.
Yes.
Sing in your car. Sing every chance you get.
Exactly.
And I learned that from my daughter. My daughter has a beautiful voice.
I want to hear Bella.
Bella, and she's a beautiful girl, and she has this big heart, and a lot of things affect her emotionally.
Yes.
She's that teenage years. She's 21 now, and she has so much to say. And when
And a
she
lot's coming at
sings,
you at that time.
when she sings, I actually see her feeling better.
Wow.
And she's
It's
like, wow.
transformative for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she said to me, I was so stressed out by finals, I literally had to just pick up my guitar and start writing songs. Like I needed a diversion.
I love
And
it.
it wasn't a frat party.
Yes.
I couldn't do that. I
Right.
needed to focus eventually on my finals. But so she found her voice.
Okay.
And she found a way to heal herself
Mhm.
through difficult situations.
Yes.
So I always say for women, like, expressing yourself and using your voice and breath work is really key to moving that energy out of you that isn't serving you well, right? That's negative.
How do you bounce back from burnout? So I burnt out. I was a pastor, a single pastor in Lower
goodness.
Manhattan with a population that had a lot of needs.
Mhm.
And in my 7th year, I just burned out. But I had not put any boundaries, but I got a gift of a sabbatical year up at Harvard on the business school campus. And I walked every day around the river until I got my rhythms, my chakras back. And so I wrote this book, Too Blessed to Be Stressed. How do you bounce back from burnout? What do you do when you feel the stress coming in? And if it hits you, how do you bounce back from the point of crisis?
Wow. First of all, I have to read that book.
Yes, you do.
Too Blessed to Be Stressed.
Words of Wisdom for Women on the Move is the subtitle.
But what a beautiful title of humility.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so humility is a cornerstone of wellness.
Yes.
And when we find moments of grace, gratitude, humility,
Yes.
moments of awe, inspiration. You walk down the beach. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you. Like this
Thank
is a
you.
gift,
Yes.
right? So those are the ways we can channel our own grace and find a moment,
A moment.
precious moment
Right.
to pause and say, okay, this isn't so stressful anymore. And I
Yes.
always say, don't send that email. Think about it overnight. Don't make that phone call. Think about
Ooh,
it for
I had to
24
learn
hours.
that. Yes.
It's really hard because we're all so reactive.
Right.
And we have things coming at us at all times.
Yes.
So especially as a mother, like
Yes.
not just work, but there's lots of triggers. So you have to find your center, your balance.
Exactly.
Right?
Take a moment or two.
And when the fire is coming at you,
Yes.
you just
This is not the time. Right.
I'm not gonna let that ruin my space right now. I'm having a good space today. So and
Yes.
things will try to derail you.
Right.
People will try to derail you.
Constantly.
Oh my goodness. I mean, there's so many people with obvious negative energy.
Yes.
And then ones that aren't, they're more subtle and passive aggressive. And you have to understand all that. And we're all in sort of a state of flow.
Always.
And finding your flow is really important. And when you can be in your state of flow, others will start to flow besides you.
Exactly.
Like the whale
Instead of against you.
in the ocean.
Exactly.
And all of the
Yes.
fish that go with it. Like it's quite a beautiful thing to think of. And
Yeah.
when you can think about yourself in that sense, then you can actually become that way.
I know. I've written a couple of emails and I said I did it at an emotional time, and you read it the
Yeah.
next morning, you were like, woo.
Yeah.
I called to apologize. I was like, oh, that was not really what I meant
Yeah.
to say. But my grandmother, we used to spend summers in the South as children. Our parents were Southern, and they would send us to the South, which was very much like Sag Harbor, the pace of it, very slow. And my grandmother, when we were getting out of control, would say, sit down and rest your nerves. And that was sit down and find your center.
Yeah.
You don't have to be moving and jumping and playing all the time. And it really works. So when I get out of control, I say, sit down and rest your nerves. Just take a minute,
And another answer to your other question about the stress in one's life.
Yes.
So for women, I find that truth is a very precarious place. And truth is at the tip of the tongue.
Yes.
Right? It is the words that come out of you. It is the honest emotions that you feel.
Yes.
But we're taught as children to lie. For example, when the first moment happens of you stealing something, and you don't know then that you're stealing something because you're 5 or 6 or 8 or whatever, and then the grown-up in your life says, did you just take that? Did you just take that from the store? And you have an opportunity. Your intuition is saying, tell the truth. Yes, I did. But so most children will tell the truth. If they're past the point where they've told the truth, and the grown-up, this is such an important role we have as the parent or a grown-up. And you tell the truth, you took that. Oh my God, you're punished for a week, and that you're not going to your play date tomorrow, and this and that. So you learn early on that by telling the truth, you're going to get punished.
Yeah.
So then you start to lie because you don't get punished, and in fact, you get rewarded.
Exactly.
You didn't crash that car? That was somebody else? Okay, great. Let's go get ice cream. No. You have to go back to that inner girl, that inner child. Exactly. And reset. Every woman has to do that.
Yes, yes.
Get to that truth.
Frequently, not just once in a while.
And you were both in business, right?
Yes.
So there are nuances to business. How do I get this person to feel this way about this thing that I'm doing so they want to sign up, right?
Yes.
So there's a nuance to that, right?
Yes.
But there's truth in all of it. So when you find it and you can toe that line, then everything conspires towards that. It's
very
like
much
a light.
So. It is a light, and the light bulb comes on.
Yeah.
So business is finding the void that someone else isn't doing. The place that, how did you find the need for Purist? I mean, there's so many magazines. What did you say that would be different about Purist?
Well, I was down this path as a journalist and an editor, and I was writing about things I didn't care about.
Okay.
And then when I started finding things I really did care about, I started migrating more and more towards those things, which were health and wellness.
Yes.
And New York City is not very advanced in that space. You go to the West Coast and they're, decades ahead of us, right?
Surely.
So because I have the benefit of having a German father and a Brazilian mother, and I'm first generation American, I've spent a lot of time outside of America.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So I have a lot of essence flowing from different countries,
Yes.
and it's quite beautiful.
That is beautiful.
And I think because of that, it led me to a path of wellness and wanting to talk about these things that actually stimulate feeling better, right?
Yes, yes.
And think about, like, the moment you get sick is when you pivot and focus on health and wellness. It shouldn't be that way.
Right,
You
right.
got to get ahead of your
You
health,
get
is what
ahead,
I always say.
exactly, exactly.
So I was ahead of it, you know, and I
Right.
was like, I love this subject. I want to celebrate it and share everything I'm learning with readers, because that's what I was. I was a journalist and an editor, and that was my skill set.
Well, I love Purist. I pick it up. I read it. I mean, the articles are great. I mean, everything's so refreshing, and I really thank you for that. I always ask my guests, A plus B plus C equals success, and we're almost out of time. What's your A, B, and C?
Oh, the golden rule: do unto others. We are all here to serve each other and
Yes.
be our best for one another. So do unto others as you would expect them to do unto you.
And what brings you hope? The name of our show. What brings you hope?
It's 100% my children.
Oh, I love
I
it.
mean, I think
Yes.
about them, and the light goes on inside, and what can I do for them? What do they need right now?
Yes.
How can I get them on their path so that they stay on their path?
Yes.
And so that they can shine as humans, right?
Exactly. I love it. I have 2 sons, 2 adult sons, but I'm still mom, you know, and they still check in with me and want advice, which is a great thing. But thank you, mother,
So sweet.
editor, wife, Purist Magazine publisher. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us on Hope. And thank you for sharing this time. You give me hope by staying with us and watching us. Stay tuned again for future shows. Hope. Highlights, headliners of people on the East End. I'm Dr. Sujay. See you next time. Thank you.